Thank you, everybody, for joining us today, and welcome to Sales Strategies for Vendors workshop. I'm Kim Hutchinson. I'm the Executive Director of the Virginia Farmers Market Association, and we work with Virginia's over 300 farmers markets, as well as their producers, specialty, and food vendors. I'm very excited to share that the Virginia Farmers Market Association has been awarded a grant from the Virginia Department of Tourism, and it is to bring us into the Virginia Love campaign. And we are now part of that campaign, and we are building the Virginia's Farmers Market Lovers Trail. And that's why you're with us today, to learn about the trail and the impact on you as producers and how to sell to not only the customers that you have, but the tourists that we hope to be drawing through this marketing campaign that we're doing with the trail today. This webinar is being brought to you with the support of the Virginia Tourism Corporation and the Virginia's Farmers Market Lovers Trail, as well as a grant from the USDA, FNPP, working to build a certified farmers market system in Virginia. For the trail, we are connecting Virginia's 300 plus farmers markets on a trail throughout Virginia, and the trail will be listed at all of the Virginia tourism locations around the state. It'll be both electronic on their computer and their website, as well as we have brochures that will be in all of the welcome centers. And as part of the trail, we have selected for the first round 5 pilot markets where we're building agritourism excursions from those markets. The pilot markets are Charlottesville, Williamsburg, Arlington in Northern Virginia, Independence, and Pardon?
Goochland.
And Goochland. Thank you. My own backyard. I'm sorry. And so we're very excited to be building all of these great projects, and we'll be connecting not only the market to these agritourism excursions and to you as producers. If y'all have farms where you can, and you're a part of these pilot markets, you have farms where you invite customers out to the farm. If you do pick your own, if you do pumpkin patches or hay rides, please let us know, and we will be happy to add you to the excursions for these pilot markets. But before we jump into our webinar and we learn all about sales strategies for you guys, just a couple of logistics. This webinar is being recorded, and it will be available to all registrants to review afterwards. It will not only be on VAFMA's YouTube channel and on our website, but we also will email it to all registered participants following the webinar. It will probably go out tomorrow. I ask that you all mute yourself for a better recording quality. If you have any questions, please drop them in the chat box. Both my cohort, Mary Delicate, and myself will be monitoring the chat box, and we will be getting the questions as they come in, and we will be asking them of Barb Lamb, who is our presenter today. This is an interactive presentation, so please put your questions in there so that we can make sure that we have an opportunity to have a conversation about it. And Barb also will have a Q&A at the end, but let's not wait till the very end in order to get your questions asked and answered. We are very lucky today to have one of the leading experts in marketing, especially as it pertains to small food businesses, here with us, Barb Lamb with the Apple Cart Company. She's going to teach us techniques on how to increase our sales, tips for engagement of customers and tourists, and show us how to develop sales strategies for both in-person and online sales. We're going to walk out of here understanding how to better communicate what makes us and our brand special, and we're going to take the guesswork out of social, email, and sales by focusing on why you are in this business and putting the plan in place for y'all to reach your goals. Barb is phenomenal. She is our go-to for marketing. She's the guru out there, and she is at the forefront of marketing for small food businesses here in Virginia, and a leading expert and industry leader around the country who specializes in the field. She's who we call when we have questions, and we are pleased to have her with us today. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Barb. Take us away.
Thank you, guys. Oh my gosh, I'm really going to have to make it special after that intro. I appreciate that. Mary and Kim and I really enjoyed working with you guys over the years. And I'm very excited for the initiatives that you guys are starting through Virginia Farmers Market Association. I see this farmers market trail as being a game changer for the way that we shop and sell food locally. So it's really exciting that to be a part of this because it's going to change how people look at farmers markets, especially with the excursions and other things. So we're going to be talking a bit about that. Then I also wanted to let you all know that we are going to be doing a little bit of deep thinking in the beginning about our businesses, and then we're going to go more into the strategy aspect of how you plan to grow your business through market sales. So in the beginning, I'm going to talk about some concepts, and then you're going to have a few minutes to think about your own business and come up with some ideas on your own. And then we'll kind of revisit that. We will also look at, I was sent some photos from the Virginia Farmers Market Association. And so I pulled those. And so surprise, some of you may be in the presentation, only if you're doing wonderful, great things. And so don't worry. So anyway, so this is going to be a lot of fun. This is, I know it's Wednesday afternoon and everyone's had a long day. So if you need to get up and get your coffee or your wine or whatever you do from 3 to 5, feel free. Hopefully the storm is not going to disrupt our connection, depending on where you are in Virginia. So we'll just have to take that as it goes. Okay. It's funny when the images sometimes keep you from changing your screen. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is talk about your unique offering and what makes your products different. I often feel like small business owners don't give themselves enough credit. They don't think deep enough about all the things they do to make their products amazing. So whether you're a farmer or a baker or a specialty food vendor or a crafts person, a lot of love goes into what you make. There's a true passion behind what you do. And in all honesty, none of us would be in this industry because we were like, oh, I'm going to make so much money and I'm not going to work very hard. That's not the case. We all have to work extremely hard to make that passion a reality. And that's not something you get with products at Kroger. This is what you do is unique and special, down to the ingredients that you use, to your process. So it's really important to understand how unique you are and to also understand that the people who buy your products are interested in you. And so telling your true story and learning how to communicate that story in a way that talks about your passion and brings it together is really important. But it's harder than it sounds. So the words that you describe when people say, hey, what do you do? And you say, well, I'm a farmer, or, I'm a baker. Sometimes we have to change those words a bit to make it more descriptive in regards to your product offerings and also to help on the sales side. So you would not be here today if you weren't passionate about your food products or your crafts. And so we're going to start basically by talking about our language and what we say and don't say and how that might affect your sales. So what we're going to do is position ourselves in our minds to attract more clients by defining the unique offering versus the actual job title you have. Job titles are somewhat meaningless in the sense that you can say that, I'm Barb, I'm a consultant. If I say I'm a consultant, people yawn and pretty much walk away. So it's I have to say something different in order to engage people and to have them interested in what I do for a living. And you're going to need to do the same thing. So when you realize, number one, what your values are as a business, so taking your core values of what's important to you and verbalizing how this connects to your food brand, that's a really good way to start this process. So what I mean by that is, for example, I work with Back Pocket Provisions, and sorry, I'm trying to figure out, do you hear that dinging on my computer? No. Okay, good. When the people come in, just asking. So Back Pocket Provisions essentially makes Bloody Mary mix. Tons of people make Bloody Mary mix. He uses local farmers. He uses tomatoes that aren't really sellable because they're not the most gorgeous tomatoes. They're the leftover tomatoes that people don't want to buy because they don't look as pretty. So he has a sustainability aspect of his business, and that is a big passion. So I make Bloody Mary mix, but I'm also passionate about sustainability. I'm also passionate about using local fresh fruit from farmers. So therefore, he doesn't just make Bloody Mary mix. He supports the community and he provides sustainability. So sometimes you have to look deeper into your brand and say to yourself, what am I really doing? And, what is it that I want the public to know about these amazing products that I've created? So we're going to do a little exercise around this in a minute. Okay, so what we're going to do right now is create a defining statement. And a defining statement is the words you use when people ask you what you do. And so the defining statement is essentially an answer to that question. I take all of I have taught 2-hour workshops on defining statements alone. So it's more complex than it sounds and it's deeper than it sounds, but we're going to do a little bit of this work. But I use the book, Growing Your Business from Mark LeBlanc. It is like very outdated. They talk about direct mail, the internet may not have been created, who knows? But it's very good about teaching you how to describe your business in a way that gets a reaction, because that's really all we want, is for people to say, oh, you do that. Okay, well, I'm interested. I want to talk to you, or at least remember what you say. But there's rules around your defining statement. So first and foremost, you have to use very simple language that is conversational. So for example, if you make up some cool saying with words you would never use and don't feel natural to you, then it just feels kind of pushed. So what we want to do is use our regular conversational language to answer the question, what do you do? So when people ask me that question, I say, I help start and grow food businesses. So what I want to happen when I say that is not to shut the conversation down. I want to open it up. So normally the response I get when I say I help start and grow food businesses is like, oh, what businesses do you work with? So that's when it gives me the opportunity to say, well, I work with mainly specialty foods and farmers markets and the occasional restaurant. And so then they start asking, well, what brands do you work with, or what restaurants do you work with? But it simply opens the conversation for them to talk instead of shutting it down, number one. But the one thing I want them to associate me with is food. So regardless if they remember one thing I said, the thing that they normally remember is A, the name of my business, which is the Apple Cart, because that's easier to remember than my real name, and that I work with food, because most of my business comes from referral. So I want them to just simply remember what I've said and what I do. And that is the goal of having a defining statement. And it's repeatable to others. So normally they might say, oh, I have a friend and they do X, Y, and Z. They're starting a bakery. They do baked goods. They go to the farmer's market. Like, they usually have somebody they know in the food world. And normally that enters into the conversation. So then I say, well, they're always welcome to reach out to me if they would like to, hit me up with questions, or tell me what their product is, because, I can't know enough about food businesses because I love it. So what's that? Oh, somebody was non-muted. Okay. So the rule is this, the language is simple. It's conversational. It's dual focus. When I say dual focus, what I mean is you want to convey information, but you also want to get a response. So you don't want to shut down the conversation with what you just said. So if you say, hi, I'm an insurance agent, you're like, okay, well, what am I supposed to say next? Or hi, I make candles. So you want to be able to say something that engages the conversation. It needs to be repeatable, and it needs to be one sentence. That's the hard part. So 6 words or less, if possible. So often when I ask people, so tell me about your business, or what do you do? What happens? They give you a 20-minute diatribe of what they do. So you're like, okay, well, you should be able to tell me what you do in one sentence only. And often the sentence that we're using now may not be as engaging as it should be. So the goal here is to find words that better define what you do and what you're passionate about and what makes your product more interesting in a short sentence. So, for example, when I say I start and grow food businesses, I do a lot more than that. I teach workshops. I implement marketing strategy. I have a lot of other things within my whole repertoire that I do, but keeping that bigger picture in front of you and understanding that, you do a million things to support that one big goal that you have. And that one big goal is creating your product and talking about it in a way that sells it. So Kim, does that make sense to you? Do you have anything you want to add on that?
I think you're 100% on target. How do you drill it down to one sentence though?
It's hard. So what you do is you may start with longer sentences and then you drill it down over time. And the thing is, what you say is working when you get the reaction you want to it. So this is not something that's you're stuck with. You just keep trying it with different words until something clicks and people start asking you questions as opposed to you telling them what you do. And I'm interested, I can barely see a lot of people because I'm looking at my PowerPoint screen, but America, I see you on here. What do you say when people ask you what you do? Hold on, you got to unmute, lady.
Sorry. How are you all? For me, it's very simple. I just make authentic Mexican salsas and no sugar, no preservatives.
So that's the perfect. I knew because I know you and we've worked together over the years too, that I'm like, that's the perfect statement where, it lends itself to another question. Oh, where do you sell your products? How can I get some? Those are the questions that you want to ask. So that's where getting your defining statement short and simple, but also, conveying exactly what your product is and who your target demographic is. Because by adding with no sugar or preservatives or things like that, you're further defining who's going to buy that product and why. Because basically, if you want the cheapest salsa that's on the shelf that's been sitting there for a year in a jar, I may not be your thing. But if you want fresh salsa that that's been handmade and is healthier for you, then you will pay more for my product.
Correct.
So that's kind of where we're going on the defining statement. So what I would like to ask for you guys to do is create a simple defining statement. We can take a couple minutes to do this if you want, but start it. And I'm wondering if anyone would volunteer to share theirs once we're done.
Well, I love what Unky has put into the chat. He says,
Okay.
I was saying, I love what Unky has put into the chat. He says, I'm Unky from Unky Seasoning. I bring firehouse flavors from the firehouse to your house.
Yeah, see, and I love that. So, you know, and that opens the conversation. And also the name Unky alone opens a conversation because that's a really cool name.
Exactly.
Does anyone else want to share a defining statement as we're working on this?
I believe I cut somebody off earlier, and I apologize. Did somebody unmute earlier and they were going to share? Please unmute again and I'll be quiet.
All right, I'm just going to shut my back door because I do see that rain is coming. And hold on one second. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Ellen. Ellen Schrock says, I am a farmer's market manager. And Walter Neff says, Walter grows craft microgreens. Oh, that's cute. A nice little play on words there. Walter?
So those are good, short, defining statements. Ellen, when you say you're a farmer's market manager, that's a very complex job. So you may want to say, I manage whatever market, and, you know, with X amount of vendors just to give people a little bit more information. And craft microgreens are something that, unique plus shelf life. That's nice. Sorry, I'm reading the chat, not telling you what's being said. Craft microgreen, Walter grows craft microgreens offering unique quality plus shelf life. So that's something that is super helpful. And also, I'm not sure that everyone knows what craft microgreens are. So that opens up the question for that, so people can say, oh my gosh, what does craft microgreens mean? I hope everyone knows what microgreens are by this point, but who knows? Oh, Katie's on here. She says offer top shelf coverage at happy hour prices. I love that. She's an insurance agent who actually I use for, oh my
And
goodness.
and we use her also. I would highly encourage anybody to check out Katie with New Oak Insurance if you are a vendor or a market manager and need coverage. But I love that. I offer top shelf coverage at happy hour prices.
Okay, so one of the things when we start talking about our language that we use at your outdoor farmers market, often what you say is your main selling tool, and what you're currently saying to potential customers is has a lot to do with how much you sell. So I've worked a million trade shows for my clients, more on the wholesale side. So that customer and buyer is a little more savvy in the sense that they're buying food, so they already know a lot. But as far as the everyday customer, some of those people know you very, very well, and some of them don't know you at all. So things I like to say is, are you familiar with or have you heard of whatever your brand is? Or give them some frame of reference, like our products are farmed and produced in X, wherever locally you are. But often people say, let me know if I can help you. And that doesn't engage anybody because they're like, okay. And so trying to engage the customer, because what you're trying to do is actually develop a relationship with them, even if the relationship is very short. So that means the customer is standing there and you're trying to develop a relationship with them so that they will buy your product, and they need to understand how special your product is. And the only way they're going to understand that is by you telling them. So, for example, when you sell wholesale and your product's sitting on a shelf, your product cannot speak for itself, and nor can you. The product has to speak for itself through the product packaging. When you are in a farmer's market, you are standing there being able to speak on behalf of your product. So you are then the center of attention. So, and I know people don't believe this a lot of the times, but it's so true. The people who come and shop from you want to know who you are. They want to know about you. They want to know why your products are special. They want to know how you made it. Like, you are the star of the show. And I feel like often people don't feel comfortable tooting their own horn. Well, guess what? Go out there and start tooting it, because that's what they want to know. They want to know who you are, what makes your process special, and how. And then weirdly, I think people think they're, they feel like they're kind of cool because they met you and they know you and you're friends. And the other thing is, they also want to feel like they know you even if you don't really know them. So like, if somebody comes up to your booth on a regular basis and you have facial recognition with them, and you're like, I may not know their name, but I know they shop here and I know they're a fan of my products, then from there, they still consider that they have a relationship with you, and you need to honor and develop that relationship. So one of the things that I recommend heavily is suggestive selling. So the way that we sell more product is by planting the seed of suggestion. So instead of them just looking around saying, oh, that looks good, should I get this? Oh, that looks good. Oh, maybe I'll try, America's salsa and it tastes good. But the truth is, we want to sell them more than what they probably are going to buy. So the way that we do this is through suggesting uses of the product. And sometimes we're not selling a product, we're selling an experience. An experience is different than selling a product. An experience may be, I've got salsa and I have chips, and you know what? It's a beautiful day, and you guys could go sit over there and hang out, or you could take it to the park, or you could take it to the pool, you could take it to the beach, wherever. But it's the experience of having the product, but making it into something better and different is a different sales process. And so people are more likely to buy the experience than they are just the product. So sometimes you have to think deeper into what people want and why. So it may be, you say, our special today is, Irish soda bread, because, it's this Irish holiday that nobody in America knows about, but everyone should eat Irish soda bread today. And here's her tradition. You put jam on it, whatever. So, but by creating experiences, it's different. And even your specials, you could bring around to, our growing season, we had such a great tomato season that tomatoes are in, high quantity. So we're offering a discount. We grow tomatoes in Hanover, especially if they're tourists, they will not probably know what Hanover tomatoes are. So there's a lot of other information you can give to sell that product. If you're introducing new products, you always should bring in, our newest product is X to existing and new people. The reason we created this is because blah, demand, whatever it is, this goes so great with whatever it goes with. Another great selling tool is, we have an amazing recipe for you. And that recipe could include pairing a product with another vendor's product. And we're going to talk about cross promotion and reciprocation. But coming up with recipe ideas that either use your products or uses products from other vendors that you collaborate with, or just suggestive selling that they can purchase throughout the rest of the market. So I'm going to give you a really good example of this. It is, I call it the Jamie Oliver syndrome. I don't know if people know who Jamie Oliver is. He's like a famous English chef. Anyway, he paired up with a grocery store named Sainsbury's in England, and they would do recipes and Jamie would create them. And then Jamie would be in the commercials with all his mates. Like, eating his curry dish that he created, but they're watching the footy and all the friends are having a great time. So he's selling more than a recipe. He's selling an experience, and that's having fun with your friends. So meanwhile, you walk into Sainsbury and oh my gosh, there's the recipe. Oh, and they bundled all the products together with us. Oh, geez, and they weighed and measured it. So I don't even have to do anything except pick up this bundle of stuff, they package for me, and then I can make Jamie Oliver's curry at home. And voila, I have a meal, and but he's already driven in the perception that this is fun. So I kid you not, everyone I worked with over there, because I lived there for 5 years, everybody had at some point made that curry. But the same thing can happen within the farmers market structure. So you can say, okay, why don't we put together like a meal? Because what happens is, especially if you're not an amazing cook, like I can't go to the farmers market and pick up everything that looks good and then know how to make something from it. So sometimes it's nice to have, this is what you can eat for dinner tonight. So just pair what I have with those vegetables over there and this recipe. You can get your meat from this guy and, or your seafood. And then you put together a collaboration, B, a meal, C, a higher unique selling point. So there's a lot of ways that you can increase your sales by bundling things but giving somebody a suggestive reason to use it. If it's growing season, whatever growing season's going on. So for example, ramps is a good one. Ramps have a very short growing season, but they're really super delicious. And all the chefs around town love to put them in all of their stuff. So, but ramps are also something that maybe everyone doesn't know how to prepare. So, if it's ramp season and you want to include ramps in something you do, but also suggest, here's how you use these ramps. If you don't know, this is an amazing seasonal vegetable that's only around for 4 weeks, maybe a little bit more. Here's things that you can do with them. So like capitalizing on the growing season and what's fresh, and how can you, if you're a specialty food vendor, partner with other people who have products that during the growing season that you can pair with. The other thing is always look to the closest holiday or opportunity. So if it's Father's Day, my Father's Day package is 3 kinds of salsa, 2 bags of chips for whatever, like bundle things so that people will buy more. So like you don't want the one-off sale, like you do want it, but the truth is the more we bundle and the more we suggestive sell and the more we plant a seed in someone's head, the more likely you are to increase your sale per person. And so that's kind of the name of the game. And that also can transcend onto online shopping, which we're going to talk about. All right. And then if you sell wholesale, which I know many of you do, you can always, let them know where your products are sold. So when it's not a market day, they have a place to go get your product, or that they can buy it online and pick it up at the market itself. So it's really important to, engage with them in whatever way you can. And even if they seem uninterested, which often they do, because they come in and they're looking. So when you start talking to them, it feels, like they're busy looking at what you have and they're kind of half listening. So, but by asking questions and being engaging, like that's where the relationship develops and that's where they become a fan of your product. So converting people to fans is the best way to increase your sales, repeat sales, basically. All right. Kim, do you have anything to add on that? I'm not sure if Mary's here or not. She comes in and out.
I'm not sure. I was just typing in the chat box. Something that sprung up out of COVID were these collaborative boxes where either, and Salsa Don Sebastian does this very well, where they, not necessarily the collaborative boxes, but they'll do a whole theme box with the chips and all different kinds of salsa, et cetera. But you might do a taco night or a fajita night and have the salsas and the chips, and partner with the beef producer to do the steaks and things of that sort. We had folks doing breakfast boxes where in markets that still sell them, and they might sell them for $30, but it's got your eggs and your fresh bread and your milk and your bacon, your sausage, peppers, onions, potatoes, and all of that, or spaghetti night, things of that sort, where you may not have all of the products, but you can partner with another producer at the market and do this box to sell. And customers really have seemed to like that. And we've seen that around, and I think you're probably going to talk about some, a little bit more of that in detail, but that has been very successful.
Yeah. And I just think the collaboration in general, like at the end of the day, you're solving a problem, and the problem is make it easy for me and give me something to eat for dinner. Like I often go to the market and buy all this stuff, and then I get home and I'm like, oh, I bought everything that tastes yummy to me. And, I've got croissants, I've got this, I've got that, but it's like collectively, I don't have anything that makes a meal. So, like, what am I going to feed my daughter tonight? I bought all my favorite things. So I just think the collaborations, but also understanding how to solve problems, which is saying, okay, I'm going to make this easy for you so that you have something to make tonight. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to partner with some other people to make it happen. So, okay.
Exactly.
Any questions on that before we move on? Mary says,
yeah, she's having some internet problems. The other thing I wanted to bring up real quick while you're on this slide is not necessarily on the product side, but when you're talking about our products are farmed and produced. For all of y'all that have worked with us, we're all, Mary and I are very interested in the data, how far your farm is, et cetera. We were at the Williamsburg Farmers Market and saw the coolest thing. And every single producer has a sign that has, and it's all branded the Williamsburg Farmers Market, et cetera, but it has the information about, the producer's name, their location, their contact information. And then at the bottom, it has the tractor, and it says, this is how far I traveled 46 miles to this farmer's market, or I traveled 3 miles to this farmer's market. And it's attached to the outside of the tent. And every single producer, whether it was somebody doing bread, whether it was beef, whether it was squash or peaches, had, all of this information in the sign. And I'm holding up my hands, which y'all can't see, but was maybe, the size of a 12-inch piece of, a 10-inch piece of paper that was attached to the tent. And that was awesome. And it was also attached to the top of the pole so that it was above eye level so you could see it, versus it being down on the table where if you're walking by, you can't see it. And it had graphics and it had color and it was branded. And so that was probably one of the neater pieces of marketing that the newer pieces of marketing that I have seen that I just thought was really cool. I would like each and every one of y'all to do that, please. I thought it was great to be able to read about your farm and how far you traveled, where your farm is, if you're a century farm, if you're a family farm, it was just super cool, but it wasn't really, really long. So anyway, I'll let you get back to it, Barb.
No, I love that idea. And, and I also think that the reason people are coming to the market is because they want that local unique quality and they want to know the farmers. Like they're not coming because they're like, wow, I can save a ton of money by going to the farmer's market. They can go to Kroger and get everything that doesn't taste as good for less. So, okay. So I would like for you guys to jot down a couple suggestive selling ideas for your own business. And then if anybody wants to share, I would love that too. And I'm going to turn my light on because now it's completely dark in here.
Barbara, just wanted to say hi, everybody. One of the I guess tactics that I use when I'm in the farmers market to start a conversation is I ask the customers, hey, what are the plans for this weekend? It is amazing how so many people want to share. They want to share what they want to do.
Right.
And for me, it's like, okay, great. They giving me information and that's all I need, and sometimes they're like, oh yeah, actually, I'm going this weekend to so-and-so. And it's like, yeah, you can't show up with nothing. What about some chips and salsa? It's like, oh yeah, what a great idea. Something like that, something simple. And people are always, willing to share. And when I talk more or say, if they're, sometimes I say, well, I'm not doing anything this weekend. I'm like, well, what about Taco Tuesday? It's coming up. You need to be ready. You need to have your chips ready. And well, I don't like tomatoes much. I'm like, well, what do you don't like about it? So I immediately start, and I don't let them go until they are like, okay, you got me. Let's buy some chips, or let's buy some, pico de gallo.
America, yeah, you have other products that don't have tomatoes. I have this weird group of friends who a lot of them hate tomatoes. Like I can't even understand it. So I guess those people live out there, but you have other things to counteract that. And we're going to talk about overcoming objections, because that's a big part of the farmers market too. So does anyone else have any other suggestive selling tips they want to share with the group? You can put it in the chat as well.
Funky says, he asked, what are you cooking tonight? Then I incorporate my seasoning into their meal.
Oh, nice. I love that. That's so cool. Okay. All righty. So let's go on to the next one. Figure out why this doesn't change when I want it to. Did I just go backwards? Okay, no. Okay, so we've got our defining statement. Core values we've talked a smidge about, but core values are, for example, America, since we've been talking about not having preservatives and not having sugar and other things, like that is part of your core value, because it's about healthy, delicious, fresh food. So I work with 2.5 Irishmen, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with him, but he has his Irish bread, but then he also offers it in vegan and gluten-free. So he changes up the recipe just to accommodate those vertical markets. So often, your core values may be centered around your ingredient profile. It may be centered around, with 2.5 Irishmen, and I'm going to use him as an example later, but he has all these funny sayings he puts on his chalkboard. And so in my mind, it's like he's bringing in his Irish sense of humor and making, and kind of making light of things, but also that's part of his persona, if you will, as a business. And so he brings in his Irishness and kind of pokes fun at himself and things like that. And I think that goes a long way in your language development. I put local flair and flavor because people would like to know where your ingredients come from. So if you are using local farmers, if you are collaborating with somebody and have another local business ingredient in your flavor profile. So for example, Back Pocket Provisions has Catbird's Worcestershire sauce in one of his. So if you're partnering with somebody and you do have a collaboration, people are interested in that too. The one thing that's super essential is training your employees on the language that's appropriate for your brand. Your brand has a voice, and that voice should be really strong. Sometimes that voice needs to be developed more. But you might want to ask your own employees, like, how do you share what we do? What do you say? Just like your defining statement. What do you say when people ask? Because you might find that they don't know what to say. And so sometimes developing language across your staff and across the board is really important. Also, as far as your shoppers are concerned, the people that come, you might have a fan shop your staff. So like you may say, you know what, I'm going to send somebody who everybody doesn't know at your booth. I might have somebody shop my booth when I'm not there just to see what they said and how they treated me. So, so I think that's helpful just to know what's happening when you're not there. but also whether they're able to communicate your values and your core offerings in a way that, because I'm going to be honest, no one's going to sell your product as well as you do. No one has the passion for it like you do. No one created it. Like when you are the person who makes the food and you develop the brand, you are the best salesperson. However, it's a teachable thing. So as long as the rest of your staff know what you expect and what you want them to say, and they're going to take note on what you say, and that's how you teach them is through example. But it's always helpful to just check and make sure. Also, good and negative sales feedback from your employees is always helpful, because knowing what the negative feedback is, and often the negative feedback can be surrounded by price. And they might be like, oh, it's too expensive, or it can, we're going to go over objections, but any negativity that comes back is a helpful thing for you to know. Not saying that it's bad feedback, it's just something that you need to know and why the sale didn't happen, so that we can figure either how to have a better objection overcome, like, can we use better language to overcome this objection? Or, is there a tweak I need to make in my business model? I'm going to say this. Don't offer up a mini buffet without speaking to somebody, because here's the thing. A lot of people come to the market to go around and eat and taste, and, and that's why they're there. But if they're going to go into eating all your food with their 5 children, then they can at least get a little lesson on what you're serving and, and be engaged with you. So that's how I see it, where, I'm giving you a free taste of my products. These products aren't free. I pay for them. I made them myself. So, a lot of people are like, would you like to sample? But it has to go the next step further, which is the engagement and discussing your brand and determining how you might sell that client, and, and if that client is part of your core demographic or not. So sometimes who your core demographic is pretty strongly, but I never want to give up a sale. That's just who I am. I'm like, if I can sell them, I will. And so sometimes it's just about getting the engagement and then, making a fan or a friend, and that's how you get the sale from that point. And I also think some of the most difficult people end up being the ones who buy and become your best clients. All right, Kim, do you have anything to add on that?
Yeah, I think the two things I would say are always, when you're talking about take note of the good and the negative sales feedback, always sell positively your product. Don't negatively sell your competitors. So the one thing as a consumer that I see that really bothers me, and I've noticed it bothers other market shoppers, is when a producer is saying, you need to buy from me instead of buying from Kim Hutchinson product, because Kim does bad practices and she does blah, 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 and negatively bashing Kim Hutchinson product, instead of saying, you need to buy from me because I'm certified naturally organic. I am a 5th generation farm. I use regenerative practices. I make gluten-free, sugar-free salsas. I am a family business. Positively sell your business. Understand what the negatives are of your customers. Understand not the negatives of your customers, but understand who your competitors are and what sets you above, and then positively sell that. Because we have one producer that's at a lot of markets, and you just see people, it's like the parting of the seas. They just move away from him because he's negatively bashing his competitors instead of positively selling his product, which is a good product. So that's the first thing. And the other is that make sure that you can explain clearly, without going into a long diatribe, of why somebody would pay more for your product versus buying a non-local product from a grocery store. So what I mean by that is, when we were at the state fair a couple of years ago with the farmers market, folks are going, why would I pay $15 a pound for ribeyes from this farm that is here at the farmer's market when I can go to Food Lion and I can buy steaks for X. Well, you're not getting the same type of product. So understand not only who your competitors are at the market, but why your product is set above and beyond what they can get somewhere else. And again, it goes back to your growing practices or, your history or your story, all the things that Barb is telling you. Once we started explaining why this 5th generation farms cattle was grazing on, the certain grass and, all of these different practices that they were using, people were buying their steaks and understood that, you could cut it with a fork in a pan and eat it right out of the pan kind of thing. Very different than what they would get somewhere else. So understand and be able to really highlight the benefits of your product as it compares to either somebody else that's selling a comparable product or the grocery store, but do it positively. That's my feedback.
That goes without saying, like, you can't bash people just because it doesn't put you in a good light, number one. And number two, there is something that makes you different. So highlight what the differences are with your products. So for example, Autumn Olive Farms, like, I just find that fascinating, this crossbreeding of the pigs and how he moves them from one place to the other and how they feed them. I mean, it's just a whole process. And there's a reason why those pigs taste really good.
Right.
It's just
and I think we've all found people that shop at farmers markets are a unique group of individuals that love farms and the unique products that are made here in Virginia and sold. And as part of the tourism trail, we're now driving folks that shop at farmers markets in other states to buy at your market. And so, they already love shopping at a farmer's market. Highlight why what you're doing is so different and so important than what they could get at Costco or somewhere. And you say, Barb, it goes without saying, but it really doesn't go without saying.
Yeah.
You would expect everybody to positively highlight themselves instead of negatively, sell against their competitor. But I have seen it at market, and I highly encourage you to emphasize the good of what you do.
I so agree. And I did put the not so obvious page, which might be next. Yeah, the not so obvious page, which is like, don't talk trash about your neighbor at the farmer's market. Okay, so when you're at the market, you're there because you're very passionate about the food that you create. And the major benefit of markets is you get feedback in real time. So you're getting people giving you feedback in person, which you're not going to get selling on a store shelf. So you are allowing them to try and sample. You get to see their reactions. You see if they purchase, and you get feedback. So it's a very valuable tool throughout the life of your product, even if you are selling wholesale, because as you interject new products into your, repertoire of tricks, like that's how you test it. That's how you test price points. That's a good litmus to how well is this going to sell or not sell? Do people like it? So getting that real-time feedback is really, really helpful. And I know as the owners, this is probably not your issue, but it might be the issue of your employees. But the job, you work all week to go to this market and sell product. So when you're there to sell, it's important to be on, like not eating, not texting, reading, knitting, but more appearing uninterested to the customer. So that's what that reads to them is I'm not interested in you. I'm just, if you want it, great, go get, I'm going to give you a sample, but I could care less whether you buy the product or not. So the way you behave in your mini, I call it like, your mini store, indicates how interested you are in them. And so if you're just sitting there, not engaging behind your table in the corner, eating your breakfast, that doesn't give people the appearance that you care. So sometimes upping your game on that is really, really important. I used to work wholesale shows like in Atlanta, New York, and I'd have clients come in with their breakfast sandwich. I mean, we're inside. I was like, you're not eating your big old breakfast sandwich in here. I said, go eat it somewhere else. And when you're done, come in here because I never sit down. And if I want to sit down, then I've got to leave my booth space and go sit somewhere else. And if I want to eat something, I leave my booth space. So I just want the customer to know I'm interested in them. And also I'm a little competitive with myself because I'm always like, the more people in my booth, the better, because I look really busy and that attracts other people. It does. So I kind of like having a busy booth, and I will do whatever I have to do to get people in there. So mimic the behavior you would like to receive from your customer. So like basically, if you want them to engage with you, you have to engage with them and at least be present in the moment. The other thing is, and I think this just changed dramatically over the years, but allow people to give you their money the way they want to give it to you. So it could be in cash, it could be credit cards, oh my gosh, do I have to take PayPal and Venmo? And do I have to take all these things now? But allowing all forms of payment is helpful. And, back in the day when we used to bring our bucks with us to farmers market, we were like, okay, I got $100, everybody, takes cash. But once your $100 ran out, you're like, done, I gotta go. So now just having, I feel like everyone takes some form of credit card payment at this point. But if not, I see that as a huge barrier to sales. Holding product until they exit. I like to buy stuff and say, can I come back and get it? Because I don't want to lurch it all around, especially if it's frozen or refrigerated product. So being courteous and say, I'll hold your product, just come get it when you're on your way out. And then pre-selling. Pre-selling is extremely valuable because, and I'm going to talk about that on the next page, but getting pre-sales is something that if you're not doing it, it's something to be highly considered. So let's talk about that on the next page. Hold on. Yeah, where's my pre-selling page? Oh, Lord, I did it again.
And I'm sure you've got it on there, but when you're pre-selling, also upsell. And when they come back after you're holding this stuff for them to pick it back up, which I love when producers say, can I hold this here at my booth for you after I've paid until you're done? Whether it's me carrying a bouquet of flowers or all of my perishables. And I always buy something else when I go back because they'll say, are you sure you've got everything? You didn't get any bacon. Or, as you start to learn your customers and know that they love your chimichurri and you see that they didn't buy some, then you can certainly ask, now, do you have enough chimichurri to get you through the weekend? Or do you want me to add that to your order kind of thing? So I find that as a consumer, I like it that people know my buying habits, and most folks at markets tend to, you have a lot of regulars that know what you're buying. So even though it's a pre-sale, don't assume that you're always sale. You can upsell. And even just by asking, if you don't know them, by asking a simple question. Now, I see that you've got, these products here. Do you have everything that you need? We also have a nice cut of tenderloin this week. Do you need some tenderloin or something of that sort? So I would just say pre-sales are not necessarily the end of that sale, or it doesn't have to be.
Agreed. And actually we're going to talk about, I realized when I looked at my outline that it's pre-selling and online sales are a little further down. So let's just follow what we've got and then we'll get to that. Today I went in and I'm like, wait a second, I'm missing a slide. And so then I had to recreate it and then I kind of confused myself. Okay. So overcoming objections. Oh, this is going to be so fun to hear some of your objections that you guys got. But if one more person says to me, what, you want that for $10? I really, or so you get a price objection. I can make that myself for $2. Why would I buy that from you? What do you do with this? So that could be vegetables, or even Willy Bird. I used to work with that chocolate sauce and people didn't know what to do with chocolate sauce. You had to explain it. Or they taste something and they don't like it. For example, Meredith from Mother Shrub has had people spit that stuff out on the ground right in front of her. And you know, I guess if you don't know, it's drinking vinegar. I love Mother Shop, but it's like, what do you say when people behave this way? And so, so just on the price, remember, like I said, a lot of love goes into your product, which just does not happen to the products they sell in the grocery stores normally. So, price objection in my mind is, you know, I handmade this handcrafted product. And so, you know, that's not, a machine did not make this. They did not cut the vegetables and they are not fresh, whatever the, you know, situation is. But price objection is something that you are never going to be able to compete on price with big box items, nor do you want to. A specialty food item is considered to be a higher priced item, and that's where you need to stay. Just so you know. I can make this at home, you know, honestly, of course you can make it at home, but why don't you let me treat you? You can purchase this, and if you don't love it, I'll refund your money next time you're here, you know? So sometimes I just think you could make it at home, but are you? And really, are you that rude? But you're not going to say that. But sometimes it's like, wow, people don't realize how rude they are. And, you know, I think that overall, people say things that they don't think you hear, and you do. So I'm just curious about any other really fantastic objections that people have heard, because I know there's got to be a ton of them.
Can I be heard? This is Gabriel with Frog Mountain Pasta. One objection I get a lot is, like, and the way I overcome it is, you know, well, I can make pasta at home. And I'm like, okay, great. When was the last time you did it? And that usually starts the conversation. The other thing is also, a lot of times people are like, well, yeah, you can. And then just pause. And then usually people admit, but they'll say something like, yeah, but it's been a really long time. Or I can tell people, like, you know what, you can buy mine and just take the credit. That's fine by me. And that always gets a nice chuckle.
Well, I always, in my head, think I can make salsa at home, for example, but by the time I buy all the ingredients, it's really not going to be cheaper for me to make it myself. And so that's the other thing, is people don't realize that. Is like, if I'm going to make this myself and I buy everything, it's probably not going to be that much less for me to make it at home. So, you know, and then, but, you know, I'm the queen of rather eating all your food than I am making it myself, because that's just how I roll. But thank you for that. Does anybody else have objections they'd like to share and how they overcome them?
I want to say, sometimes I get the same, you know, when people come and say, oh my God, it is $8 for a salsa, you know, I can definitely make it myself. I'm like, what would you make it if I can make it for you? You know, I immediately, they're like, oh, well, I'm already here. Yeah, why not? You know, let's just buy it. I've got another people saying, for example, I just recently started making tacos in neighborhoods, and a guy, it is $5 a taco, and the guy asked me, how many tacos for $5? And I'm like, one. And he's like, $5. And I started to immediately, I was going to start explaining why it was so expensive. And the guy behind him said, dude, go to Taco Bell. You know, if you don't like, and I was like, okay, thank you for doing that. But that was pretty much
his $5 taco, the guy behind him. So he's like, just get out of the way.
Yes, pretty much. Exactly. Pretty much. Go to Taco Bell, dude. Bye. So that was. You
can't even buy fast food for $5 now. Like, really, you know what I mean? Like, what's just homemade food, for God's sake?
We're cooking in front of you. You know, we're cooking in front of you. High quality ingredients. We cut in the cilantro. Everything is like right there, fresh. You know, for you. And you are complaining about $5 taco.
I
know. You know, the other thing is, I went to a grocery store when I was doing a demo. A lady asked me, "What is that?" And I said, "Salsa." What? Salsa? And I said, "That is, you know, Mexican." She's like, "Oh gosh, no, not Latino." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." I didn't know what to say. And she laughed. So, you know, things like that happen, and you just don't have an answer for it immediately sometimes.
I know. So that's where you have to think on your feet a little bit, and also try not to get angry, because people are not sensitive to the fact how much time and energy you put into making these products. And, you know, they don't understand how absolutely insulting it can be. So
I know.
So the other thing is sales blockers. I call these people the ones that hover around, eat your stuff, don't move. And you're like, wow, why don't you just hang out here with your family of 10 and just block the way and don't let anybody else in? And, you know, so they're basically blocking your ability to sell to other people. So some good ways to overcome that would be to say, hey, man, help the next person, please, very loudly, and just let that person push through. Or offer them some marketing materials, but try to clear them out of the way, because like I said, I think people come with their families, they park their stroller in the front, they do all of this stuff, but they don't realize that you're there doing business. And, you know, you don't pull up at the McDonald's counter and just hang out there as long as you feel, well, there's a line behind you, you know what I mean? Like, you move out of the way. So I do think that the hoverers, you know, I know can be problematic. And also your chatty best customer who likes to over chat. That was my ex-husband. Oh my God. I'm like, stop talking to them. They're trying to work. And, but sometimes I have this philosophy of, like I said, if you appear to be busy, more people are interested in you. So sometimes the chatties I keep around until somebody who,
Oh, it looks like Barb is frozen.
Yeah.
I will say, until she unfreezes, I will share when Mary Delicate and I visit the market and we start talking to somebody and pulling out our wallet, all of a sudden people seem to flock to that tent where we are. So Barb, I was just filling in because I think you're frozen again. Barb, maybe you should cut your video off. Oh, no, you're back. We got you. Barb. So sometimes the chatty folks can be helpful to have them in the booth. You can move them to the end of the table. One of the things that was shared with me by some producers when we were talking about the value of selling is, you know, they share, I'm so excited to be here today. This is the one time during the week that I have an opportunity to sell. I have these 4 hours to sell. So thank you for coming to my booth and, you know, supporting me. And, you know, can I help you buy something, or, you know, can I help you with something, and maybe move them along. Barb, are you back?
can you hear me? I took my video.
Yeah, you're unfroze. I can hear you now. So I'll be quiet. You take it back over.
No, I'll just take my video down for a minute and then try to put it back up. Yeah, so sometimes I think the chatty customers are helpful, but the second that you get another paying customer, you need to just say, oh, you know, it was great chatting with you, and move on. And then the advice givers, oh Lord have mercy. The ones who are like, you know what you should do? You know, I have an idea for you. Oh, you know what a great idea is? I find that a little bit difficult, only because you're like, you have no idea how much time I spend with this business. And like, you come up with these crazy off the cuff ideas and you don't even understand the intricacies of what I do. So with those people, you just have to be like, oh, that sounds great, and then move on, you know. But I do you guys get that a lot? People giving you advice on your business?
I know I'd tell people thank you very much, and I would love to hear whatever advice you have. And here's my business card. Email it to me. Yes. And I'd love to look into it further, and maybe you can gently move them away. My advice for Salsa Don Sebastian is sell your stuff at every single farmer's market and grocery store in town, please.
I like that. You know, I had people that have come immediately. I said, would you like to try some salsa? And they said, well, I'm from Texas. Let me tell you if it's good or not. I'm like, what? or I'm from Mexico, or I'm from, you know, I'm a salsa connoisseur. I'll let you know. I'm like, oh, okay, I don't need your, you know, but okay, thank you. So, yeah.
Okay. Okay. I love this. This is going to be the funnest part. Okay, so your portable mini store is your booth display, obviously. I'm always perplexed when there's no signage and you have a hard time even knowing what the brand name is. So signage is super important, regardless of whether it's on your tent setup or it's freestanding, but it needs to be high enough for people to read it. So one of the issues at the farmers market is that a lot of people put their signage on the ground. And if you could figure out a way to elevate the signage to a place where people could actually read it, that would be enormously helpful for your marketing. I also want to talk, and we're going to look at a bunch of photos after this, but product display and height differences. So when I go into a grocery store, everything's not on a flat surface. There's stuff elevated, there's stuff on different heights, there's stuff on shelves, there's stuff. So, and the place where your eye goes, the most sellable part of the store is at the higher eye level. So what happens is people, basically pay to get higher shelf space, depending on what their brand is, because they want to be at the higher eye level. So when everything's flat and on a table, you are not taking advantage of the opportunity to have height differences and allow people to shop without looking down. The other thing is when they come up and they're looking at your table full of stuff and you're trying to talk to them, they're not looking at you. So they're not at eye level. They're already way down here looking. And so then if they want to engage with you and then look at the product. So I've got some examples of height differences in the slides that we're going to look at. So I just want to make that a huge priority, and it doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need a big system. There's all kinds of things you can do that will make it easier for people to view. I know that Ames from AR's Hot Honey actually has these little cups that are plastic that he elevates the whole table with, and that's another option just to make your table higher. If you're bringing your own table, you can always figure out another way to make your height higher. The other big question that I'm always perplexed upon is do you let people enter into your booth space, or do you keep them on the outside of the booth space? Do you let them come in and is entering inside, or do you keep them outside the table? I think some people feel that, and I think a lot of it has to do with storage and how much storage you need for your products. But the people that enter inside the booth, if you're letting them in, are more likely to purchase than the people who stand on the outside, because they're just looker buys and they're just standing there and they're like, well, if I walk up and I try something, then I'm gonna have to talk to them. They're going to buy it. So I think that's something to consider seriously, and also due to shade, sun exposure. If you can give people shade and a more comfortable place to be, that might be a better way to get them into your space because it's shaded and they're not standing in the blazing hot sun as the summer months get warmer. I do think it's relevant to put best sellers and specials in a space where you're today our show special is, our market special is, if you have a market special, this is our best seller, or this is our seasonal product that we're selling. We only have this for another month, or 2 weeks. So if you want it, you should probably get one today. I like to place a sense of urgency on the purchase. I'm almost out of X because it's gone like wildfire this morning. So if you really want this, I'm also the queen of making up new stuff as we go along. So if I have a special and I don't think it's working, I'll just make up a new one. Be like, no, today instead we're doing this. And the way that works is I like to, and we're going to talk about this in another part of this presentation, but bundling things, I like to try to sell more. So I'd rather sell 3, products for a lower price than I would like to sell 1. So if we bundle and say, you get a discount if you buy X to increase the per sale purchase, then that's a great way to increase your sales, move more product. And often you just have to come up with some package, and that package could be an experience. So it may be like 2.5 Irishmen has this, they sell afternoon tea. So instead of selling a couple loaves of sweetbread and something else, it's like, oh, you get 3 loaves of sweetbread, 2 packets of scones, and a box of tea. And this is afternoon tea, but that price point went up to $40 instead of selling $10 worth of product. So sometimes if you package it as an experience of something to do, and then you're doing your suggestive selling, party in a box, it could be, Father's Day extravaganza, July 4th, picnic in the park. I mean, there's a million things that you could make up if you're just a little bit creative. This is, all you need is this. You'll have a picnic for the afternoon or tomorrow. You can take this to the beach. You can take it to the pool. You can take it to the park. You just have to, as you say, if you ask them what they're doing, sell it into their already projected plans for the weekend. As far as marketing collateral is concerned, everyone should have some type of marketing collateral. However, you don't want to spend too much money on that because often people may take it and it's not utilized. So you don't want to just give it away if they want it. And that marketing collateral should have your website on it. And it also should have details about how to pre-order or order online. And it may also have your wholesale accounts. So like anywhere they can go buy the product elsewhere. So if you're going to offer up marketing collateral, it's helpful to have a certain amount of information on the actual marketing piece that extends sales in the future. I bought something from Birdhouse Farmers Market. I did an online pre-order. So I showed up at Birdhouse and I'd already ordered, and I had my nice little bag full of stuff. And then I went and shopped around a little bit more. But in my bag was a thank you note from the vendor because I had never ordered from them. And they were like, thank you so much for ordering. And then they went on to say, like, this is how we make our products. And it was handwritten. I mean, I was so impressed. And it was from these little pierogies, and they come frozen. But anyway, they're delicious. My daughter will eat them. So sometimes I'm now then a fan because I got this thank you note and it made a difference to me about how they treated me as a customer. So then I posted it on Instagram and tagged them, and then they got extra love. So, you know what I mean? It all worked out. All right. Collecting emails. This is an essential part of marketing these days. The way we sell online direct to consumer or get pre-orders is through email and social media. So collecting emails is a total pain. There is a source called Popl, P-O-P-L, it's listed here, where they sell you devices, and I can scan my phone onto the device with the QR code, and then I can enter my own information into your database system, so then you can utilize my email. So this cuts back on you having to hand enter email addresses, but it also allows the consumer to say, yes, I definitely want to be on your email. I'm going to scan this. I'm going to make the effort to put my email address in. So therefore, they're considered a strong customer, in my opinion, because they made the effort to give you the email address in person. So I just wanted to throw that out as something that is extremely important in this stage of the game, because COVID changed a lot about how people buy product. And, as it surges and as we have these continuing issues that have followed COVID, the way people buy and sell product is just changed. So, we need to be able to offer people product as they want it. And so having email addresses where we can communicate directly with them is really important. Branded bags, swag, other fun things. I think there's a lot you can do to even nice boxes with your branding on it, because if you're going to sell gifts, it needs to look like a gift. So if you're going to box up your spreads and jellies, and if you're going to put something and say this is a gift, then it needs to sort of look like a gift. So even if you have some nicer bags and boxes where you can put your bundled items that you're selling for more money to make it appear to be a gift, that might be a good use of your marketing spend. Okay. Any ads there, Kim?
We have a couple of things in the chat. One,
Okay.
and we'll send this out when we send out this recording, but Dr. Teresa Nortea did a webinar for us recently specifically on vendor displays. And so the link is in the chat box. Please copy it, but we'll also send it out. It's all these great ideas that are not expensive on how to set up your booth for flow, things of that sort. She's with Virginia State University, and she's kind of a guru on how to set up your booth. So please feel free to check that out. Anki says that at Market sign up for his newsletter, not only does he get 10% off the first order online, and he's captured, of course, those folks' email address by having them sign up for the newsletter, but you also get to play Plinko for a promo giveaway. So that's a cool idea. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that during COVID, we saw a lot of folks, because sampling was an issue during COVID. So the only way we could sample was to pre-package the samples in little, pre-package them in a little sealed container. And folks have continued to do that and it's a great way if you have a new product or a product that is not selling, if you want folks to, along the lines of Barb saying folks were writing thank you notes, she found a little thank you note in her bag. Put samples of what you've got for next week, what your specials are going to be. You've got a new jam or jelly, a new flavor of seasoning. You've got a new salsa or something that's a new product. Put that in as a sample for folks and say, I put a new sample of what we're going to have next week, so you know what's coming up, kind of thing. That's very successful at Market. I also will say, branding and collateral material, I love it. It's very expensive. You go and you buy a bunch of bags and you buy a bunch of t-shirts, then you're dealing with sizes and storage and all that, and they're uber cool. But if you have to invest in one thing to brand yourself and brand your tent. And so, I love and I think it's very, to be able to have good signage, good banners, and to have, even if it's the t-shirts and the hats that have your brand on it, or if it's aprons or something so that folks know who you are. I think it looks really clean. And as somebody that goes to a lot of different markets and I see y'all at multiple markets, I can easily pick out Salsa Don Sebastian when they're at the market, because I know exactly what their tent looks like and what their signage looks like. When I go and I see Crazy Farm in a market, I now know what their logo looks like. I know hot pink is their color, and I can find them in the market because I know exactly what their brand is. So if you have to invest in, if you have to kind of whittle it down, invest in something that is really going to, it's great to bring magnets home and all of that, but invest in something that really is going to be in front of all of the customers all of the time first and foremost, and then look at the little ice cream scoops and things of that sort as ancillary branding would be my advice
on that. Mm-hmm. Like, especially if you can package your food product better with marketing, I think it's really the win. Okay, so let's look at a couple. Cross promotion, number one, is what we talked about. That, well, I'm not going to talk about it some more, but Bridget, I love that these are photos that were provided to me by Virginia Farmers Market Association. But I love the idea of as we're marketing the farmers market trail, people collaborating so that everyone knows that you're on board and understand what's going on, and that you're a part of it and you're a part of the action, and that you want to be a part of the farmers market trail. So even if these stickers are something that people could put in their booths, like, I think that would be super helpful. Height. So they simply just got this table, but it's just got 2 tiers, but instead of everything being low, and it just presents better. But do you see how open this booth is as well? Like, you can come in and be in the shade and kind of enjoy, you know, the experience of being in there, because your mini store is an experience and you want to provide a good experience and a good feeling while in your booth space. And here's another one where, see, all they did was take, you know, boxes and put them up higher and then some lower. So it's not like this was a huge expense, and they probably transported the product in these to get them there in the first place, but they just arranged them in a way that gave some height, allowed more storage of product, and made it look more appealing. And then also with the beautiful colors of, you know, the vegetables, like that's where the appeal comes in. So suddenly it's gone from being like a table with food on it to more of a retail store. This one I love just because, well, I can't eat macaroons because I'm allergic to almonds. But look how they made their space look like a mini bakery. So instead of being like, I've got these, they're in little shells or all one thing. Now it's a bakery. Now I've got this fun display. I've got everything in this cabinet that looks like it may probably have some temperature control to keep things cool. So, you know, they're indicating with their display more of what their brand is about. And especially if you've got kids with you, having this little stand full of deliciousness, macaroons, like that's where, you know, hello, can't lose with that. When the kids want to come over or the dogs, you're going to win all day long. I also love their packaging, and packaging is extremely important. So if you were going to spend money on something outside of your signage, then packaging could be the next best thing. Because if you look at this packaging, this looks like a gift item. You can take it home and eat it yourself. You can give it to, you know, the party you're going to tonight. It could be a hostess gift. It could be a gift for anybody in your family. So sometimes the sheer presentation of how the food is packaged often lends itself to the selling suggestion you're going to be giving them. So, you know, and then also the shelf life and other things have a lot to do with it too. And if it's hot, if it's a hot day and you have like a meltable product, then you need to figure out how to, you know, hold it for them so that they can come back and get it so they can take it home. Okay, I just put this on there because Family of Nuts made me laugh so hard that I couldn't even stand it. Like the fact that they have this logo with this whole family full of nuts, and just the name alone lends itself to so much quirkiness and funny things that like the branding of the product is super important. And this lends itself to a cheeky language and all, you know, Uncle so-and-so, the pecan or whatever, you know, every nut could have its own funny name. I mean, and so the branding of your product is really important, and pulling out that personality of the brand is what we do. Once we name our business, then we say, okay, I need to pull that personality and show it really strongly. I just had to include that for fun. And then here's 2.5 Irishmen, and I put him in here because do you see how he sets up his space like a retail store. So he brings all these racks in every time. He puts the baskets in. But then he also has his signage up higher so that you can see it when you're looking at the booth. But buy 3 breads and spin the wheel, which is what one of the participants today mentioned. So the wheel that you spin either gets you free scones from him, but he partners with all these other people. So it could get you a free lemonade, it could get you a free coffee, and then he gives you a token and you go to another booth and claim your free item. So it's a good way to partner with other people at the market, but it's also a really good way to cross promote because the other vendors are also doing something similar and they're sending people over to him. So also, if you can see, that's his chalkboard where it says Irish Men, and then you take it or leave it like he always cheeky saying on there that kind of lends to his personality. And so that's also part of a branding technique where you're, using your language that you've developed for your brand, and then you're incorporating it into the other marketing that you have. I think that's the last one I have on this. Kim, do you have anything to chime in on that? Okay. All right.
I love his booth.
I saw him set it up at Cavalier Produce because we were doing like a promotion with for people that sell to them and they resell it. But I thought, wow, that's a lot of setup. Anyway,
very dramatic. Yeah.
I know. Okay, if we're going to partnership promote with another brand, first of all, you look at the products that you personally love and the people you admire, because I know that you have other brands that you feel like are diligent and amazing. And then you kind of look at the products that lend themselves to your products. So if there is a combination of something that will complement your product line, then you can bring them into the fold. So, for example, Birdie's pimento cheese, she cross promotes with Firehook crackers. So she sells the crackers alongside her pimento cheese, and they're great crackers. It's a Virginia business. So basically, in order to increase her per person sale, though, because she buys those wholesale and resells them at retail price, and then she makes it into a kit where, like, oh, look, this is a gift, and there's a spreader in here, and I'm going to put it in a pretty box for you. And now my, $7 pimento cheese is now costing you $30, but you have something cool to bring over someone's house. So that's how you kind of play the game, if you will. And it's a great way to make other relationships within the industry. And so really, usually when we do cross promotions, I just put them into the marketing plan like anything else and say, this is part of our marketing plan and here's who we'd like to cross promote with. And then we set up an arrangement. So in your bundling, you may want to bundle with other brands as well. So for example, I have done Mother Shrub, like cross promotes with Cirrus Vodka. So if you go into Cirrus Vodka, they sell Mother Shrub. If we do video, we'll be using vodka in the video. We'll talk about Cirrus. We'll talk about how our product's sold there. Then we will provide the video to Cirrus and vodka, and so they can then use it on their social media and they can promote us. So that's the important part of this, is on cross promotion. Providing the people you're working with the tool to promote you is important, and you might as well take the lead on that because they may not do it. And that would be part of marketing your cross promotion. So there's a lot of interesting ways that you can promote with another brand. It is somewhat of a partnership, so you have to agree on how it's going to work and how, so for example, Kim, when you talked about those holiday boxes, it was great, but it was somewhat problematic because people needed to know who's going to do the distribution aspect of it. And if we all bring the products here, who's going to put the product in the box? Who's going to tape up the box? Who's selling the box? So, it was easiest to get, the name is escaping me. They did the food tours, Richmond food tours. They became the center of the box promotion. They took the product and they put the boxes together and they sold them to their food tour people. So that was a good fit for everybody to kind of figure out who's doing what and how it's going to work. And they paid wholesale price for the products, and then they were resold at retail pricing.
In the case of the farmers markets, a lot of the market managers took on the onus of that burden, where everybody would bring the products to the market manager and they would sell them for $35 and then kind of figure it out in the back end at the end of market day. How many of the boxes did we sell, and or doing it through pre-sale, and the market manager would handle that. So I think there's a lot of opportunities, but the cross promotion really helps to expand your brand across other avenues and other centers of influence that you might not currently have.
Right. So if the box has 5 different brands in it, all 5 brands need to promote across their social media and email, and that gives additional exposure across 5 different sets of social media or email. So all these different eyes. So that's why it's a good way to do things. And it doesn't cost you anything, but it does cost your time, like everything else. Okay. So pre-sales online. I'm wondering how many people sell online, direct to consumer, which means you have to have distribution in place to get it to wherever it's going nationwide. But money in your pocket's always better than money on the day. That's how I see it, because on the day of the market, it may be raining. So if you can pre-sell product to pick up at the market, you're driving traffic to the market, you're pre-selling your items, and you're guaranteeing that person's going to show up. And if they don't, then you're stuck with their product and have to figure out how to get it to them. But you've already received the money for the product. That's what's important. Weather is your frenemy. Some days it's great for you. Other days it's your whole entire enemy. And so not knowing, predicting the weather, online sales can be a very effective tool, A, to make more money, but B, to drive traffic to your booth at the market as well. You need to drive your own traffic to your store. A lot of people tell me, they're like, oh, the market's in charge of it, or they just wait around for foot traffic. The truth is, this is your business. Your job is to drive traffic to your business. So, there are various ways you can drive traffic to your own farmers market booth, but that is your responsibility. And so if everybody would take responsibility, then we'd have a lot more foot traffic at the markets. So the market managers are doing their job by collectively marketing the whole event, but you need to market on your own and ensure your own traffic. Like if you go to Carytown in Richmond, or if you go to the mall, those businesses are not sitting around waiting for people to walk in the door because they're walking down the street. They market to them to get them to come in and purchase. So, like the mall or, a downtown shopping area is great, but you still have to market to your customer base to get them in there to ensure that you are taking care of the sales exposure that you need for your business. Okay. Collect emails and promote on social. We already talked about Popple, but if you're going to do pre-sales for the farmers market, which I highly recommend, I'm going to be honest, then you need to promote that in a timely fashion so if you're at the market on Saturday and you're cut off to get those orders in is by Friday at noon or Thursday night, you need to be very clear about what the time scale is to get the orders in order to have them ready for them during that market. So it really surrounds your production schedule. But the closer, if you want to avoid weather issues, you could probably move it earlier in the week. But if you have the ability to hold out a little longer, then you may get those last minute orders. But, I like to order from Birdhouse Farmers Market, but I have to order by Sunday, and I usually remember on Monday that I haven't ordered because somehow over the weekend that lapses from my mind because I don't want to think about what food I need for the week till Monday. Okay. Content strategy plan. So I just taught an 1.5-hour workshop on this morning, these 4 bullet points. So this is it's a more complex than it sounds. So I'm going to touch on it, but I want you to understand that this is very in-depth. And if you're a member of the Specialty Food Association of Virginia, that recording is actually on video and they will provide it to you. So you can watch it in its entirety. And so you don't have to watch me too much in one day. But the way we develop a content strategy plan is this is how we communicate through social media and through email. We determine up front how many posts per week we're going to put out into the universe on both Instagram and Facebook. If you're on Pinterest, if you do TikToks, how many reels you're going to do, all of those, we put this into a plan. How many emails per week or month are you going to send? The critical part about email is it's dependent upon the number of emails in your email list. So if you are Free People, the clothing brand, who have like 1 million emails, well, they email you every day because they got 1 million people out there. If you have 60 emails, you can't overwork your email list. So the number of emails you have will dictate. If you have under 1,000, let's say, then you might want to send one out at the most every other week. If you have 5,000 emails, then you could probably send one out every week or sometimes twice a week. So those are all relevant to each other. But the one thing that's most important that you remember that I've said today about content is the rule of a third. So rule of 1/3 is all your content should not be about selling product because people don't want to feel oversold. That's not fun. They don't like it. 1/3 of your communication should be about product and selling and what's on sale. 1/3 should be about other things within your industry. So if you are working on a farm and you have goats, let's say, and you're really passionate about, goat yoga, that could be a subject matter in which you bring up. And then 1/3 should be about your personal self because people want to know about you. So what I say about that is, it's not about, family time, we're all hanging out, but it's more about your interest and passion and picking a path in which you can engage and develop relationships with people online, because ultimately they want to have a relationship with you and they want to know more about you. So an example of that would be, I mostly post food on Instagram because food is way prettier than people. I mean, let's just be honest. But when I'm not posting food, I'm passionate about these shoes called Fluvogs. So whenever I get Fluvogs, I always post those and everybody knows it. And I'm like, oh my God, I got a new pair of Fluvogs. And so like people now identify me with these shoes. I may post a new hair color if I have one. If I'm decorating my house, I may post about that. But I try to keep it tight on what I include about myself because I don't want to put up all the pictures of my daughter, her graduation, everything like that. To me is separate. I want to keep it business related, but also let people know a little bit more about me and kind of, who I am. Compartmentalizing your time is huge. Any type of marketing or selling or task work you have to do in order to implement any type of sales activity, marketing, or content should be done in a compartmentalized chunk of time. So my suggestion is to pick 2-hour time chunks a week and say, I'm blocking those out. And that's when I'm going to handle my marketing, sales related activities or my content. Or you could do 1 4-hour block if you could manage to find that much time in a block. So I'm just saying you won't do a lot of this unless you pick a time in which to take care of it, because otherwise the pressure of all the things you have to do overtake and you just don't have time to get it done. So marketing's the easiest thing to put off because nobody's sitting around waiting for your, unfortunately, nobody's sitting around waiting for your post to come out or your blog post or your anything. Like they're not, everybody's like, wow, I'm going to get a post this week. Okay, so let's talk about tourism and gifting because those go hand in hand. Let me just check the time to see where we are. Okay. Food is the most amazing gift. Like I said, I don't know why more people don't give me food. It actually annoys me that I don't get more food because I give food for a gift all the time. But anyway, like I said, it needs to look and feel like a gift. Like I can't give somebody a $5 anything. It needs to be like $20, $25. So like you need to make it more expensive. So I feel like I can give it as a gift. Even a hostess gift should be at least $10 to $15. You know, if you're going to bring a bottle of wine to someone's house, you're not going to go buy the cheapest bottle of wine you can find. You're going to get like a decent bottle of wine to take over. So understand that if you're going to gift, the price point needs a little bit higher. You know, as we bundle and offer more discounts, people buy more. And then as we talked about holidays, I don't care what holiday it is. It could be National Cheese Day. It doesn't matter what holiday is. That is always gives you the ability to come up with a product or item that you can sell. And then when we get to tourism, these gift items are more suitable for them if they don't live in the area to take with them. So understanding like, okay, if I'm going to put together a gift item, but these tourists who are coming in, because tourism is marketing this, and I know people are going to show up, what am I going to sell them that is transportable, isn't too large, maybe not that perishable, or has to be eaten on the day? So understanding what their needs are and making sure that you have offerings that will work for them. So saying, you know what, I'm going to sell you this cheese and it'll be fine in your car as long as it's air conditioned for 5 hours or whatever the number is. So selling to tourists and what they're buying is going to be a little bit different offering, because they're not necessarily going to buy everything that for their meal that night. You know, they're going to buy food with potentially has a longer shelf life, that's in a jar or has, you know, is a specialty food. Snacks to eat during their stay that it maybe be a little bit more, you know, edible on the spot. So thinking in terms of what do I do with these people that are going to be here, but they're not from the area, because I don't think that's typically what most people are used to at a farmer's market. So the other thing is educating tourists on your products, who you are, what there is to do in your area. If you sell your products to a local restaurant, you need to let them know that, because you want to direct them to the restaurant where your product's sold and say, you know what, I have these amazing ramps and chef so-and-so makes them, and he's got an amazing pizza and you should go try it. And if you can cross sell with your restaurants that carry your products and send traffic their way, they're going to love you, love you. So that's just another way to cross promote, by sending people to your, if you're on menus, which I know a lot of you are, and then send those tourists there too, because then that's another way you're building a relationship and also building a fan base. So, you know, at the end of the day, putting some thought into this tourism market and really deciding what you can send away with them that they can utilize, knowing that they're traveling, is really important. So, and even if you say, hey, if you buy $50 worth, I'll give you my branded cooler with a nice bag in it, and you can take that home with you. That's an interesting offering that, you know, other people may not have considered.
Yeah. Barb, we have a question. Is there a standard discount for wholesaling? Perhaps 24 jars sold to a store. They need to make a profit, but their profit shouldn't be more than the producers. And if the wholesale price is too high for them to make the profit they want, then there's no sale. What is the kind of rule of thumb on how you wholesale quantity? Is there one?
I'm trying to think. I just had a workshop on Tuesday about this. Honestly, it's a very complicated subject. I mean, like I could speak about that for 2 hours easily and not even touch the surface. So that whole, you know, if you want to ever offer that through your organization, through, you know, Virginia Farmers Market Association, Kim, I could do another workshop on that, because honestly, there's no set standard, and it has a lot to do with many things. So that's something that on the side I could answer, but yeah, there's no way. Like, there is percentages that are standard, but it's according to the product. It's according to whether you're freezer, fridge, whether you're on the shelf, how long your shelf life is. So there's a lot of variables that go into that. So
well, and I'm sure you're available to consult also to anybody on the call that's interested. And we can talk about doing an additional webinar that covers that. Before you move on, the one thing I wanted to mention is that National Farmers Market Week, as well as Virginia Farmers Market Week, is August 7th through August 13th of this year. The governor is proclaiming that week. Virginia's Farmers Market Lovers Week, et cetera. And the state leadership and us will be around the area. It is a great time to cross promote and make sure that you tag, the association and all of that. VDAX, if you tag VDAX in a lot of your stuff, a lot of times they'll pick it up and they will send it out also, because they're always looking for content. So think about who else, when you are promoting, that you can tag in your content, like the Virginia Farmers Market Association, the Virginia Department of Agriculture, the Dairy Association, whoever it makes sense. Make sure you tag the trail. Mary Delicate will add into the email that she sends out tomorrow the hashtags that we have for the tourism trail. Also, I had put in here to please use the tourism logo, the Virginia Farmers Market Lovers logo, and to solidify that brand as it's recognizable, and we want the tourists to know. Tourism is doing a lot of marketing for this. Mary put in here, hashtag love VA markets is our trail hashtag. And that anytime anybody looks at that website or the QR codes that we have, it goes directly to all of the markets in the state, and it goes to all the agritourism activities, et cetera. So, I will be shamelessly promoting our brand and asking y'all to co-brand with us, because we're trying to drive people to you. And then to reiterate what Barb said, again, the tourists that we're driving to the market, though we're trying to attract people that are coming into town for a variety of different reasons, they're already shopping at the market. So make sure you have things that, though they could potentially get stuff that's perishable, better to get stuff that's shelf stable that they could take with them, or to do a snack basket or something of that sort. And think about, doing some marketing around the trail that, this is a great hostess gift for you to take as you're traveling, kind of thing. So you can certainly feel free to wrap that into your promotion. Thank you.
And that's the thing, the more you partner with Virginia Farmers Market Association, the more they'll hit you back up. So the more you tag them and kind of let people know what's going on, the better your relationship with them is going to be. And then the more, who knows, the government might, hit you back.
100%, always looking for y'all, always looking at y'all stuff and content. So better you send it to us than we have to go out and troll for it.
And then just wrapping this all up, and I know this was a lot of content kind of smushed into 2 hours on one big storm, but intentionally planning and following the path that you set is really the way forward. So a strategy plan that says, here's how I'm strategically going to grow my sales at the farmers market, a content plan that allows you to just decide upfront how you're going to promote your business, both online and through email. And then a PR plan is something that we could probably also do later, Kim, if you wanted to do that, which is how to engage with influencers and journalists. And we are actively working with the association to complete an influencer program for the Farmers Market Trail. So that's exciting, and things are going to be happening there. And actually, Kim, I've got it done. I just haven't sent it to you. So your plan needs to be written down. People tell me they have it in their head. It doesn't work that way. Just you need to write it down and follow it. I usually start with revenue goals. So saying, this is how much increase I'd like to see, and determining how you're going to grow and in what areas. And when I say areas, like, do you grow your wholesale? Do you grow your market sales? And where in your mix do you want the growth to come from? And then after you make these decisions, I'm going to be honest, it's task work. It's not that hard. So making the decision of what you want to do is much, much harder than actually doing the work. So just, deciding and sticking to the plan is actually more difficult than doing the, I have 3 posts a week. Well, I know I have that. I've already put the content strategy together. So it's really not that hard because I've already made a decision on how to do that. All right. Now we've got hardly no time left, but what do we have? What questions do we have?
Any other questions? We're putting our hashtags up there for you guys to grab.
Okay.
We also tag Virginia grown. We tag the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, Virginia foodie and VA foodie for and Virginia farm for those of y'all that are looking to kind of tag other partners in the community. And are there any other questions that are here? There were some great ideas regarding how to set up your booth. Folks, somebody bought an art easel to put their big sign on so that people could see it. Folks use a bar stool that's tall to lean against instead of a camp chair so that they can be seen, etc. Did I miss anything? And any last questions? I mean, we've got Barb here. We've got the expert. So what questions do we have for her?
A list of resources that I put here for photography and other things. So if, and my email address is here, and you can follow me on Instagram, but if you want to email me with questions, I'm happy to answer them.
We have a question. Is your wholesale seminar online?
No, I did that one through Curate. They're listed here. Curate is an organization that teaches, really helps work with semi-established, like established food businesses to grow and develop. They're in Northern Virginia, but they're coming to Richmond and other parts of Virginia. But the thing that's cool about them, they curate food brands and sell them into institutions like hospitals and universities. So they're like they're like the ones who kind of coordinate all of that. So the larger institution just has to pay them, and then they pay the food vendors. So they kind of take a step in making it easier for the larger organizations to purchase from the local food vendors, which is why I'm interested in them so much, because I'm like, when are you getting down here? I need your help.
Thank you. Any last
But
questions?
as far as wholesale, I haven't done a wholesale from basics in a while. So, but yeah, no, that particular one is not available because it's through another company, like they own the rights to that. But I can always do one. So,
thank you. Any last questions for Barb while we have her? Barb, I'd like to thank you so much for teaching today's webinar, Barb Land with the Apple Cart. It has been as informative as we thought, and we so appreciate your time. I'd also like to give a shout out and thank once again this webinar is brought to you today with the support of Virginia Tourism Corporation, Virginia's Farmers Market Lovers Trail, and a grant from the USDA AMS FMPP, working to build a certified farmers market system in Virginia. I look forward to seeing you all on the trail. If you are at either Charlottesville, Williamsburg, Goochland, Independence, or Arlington Farmers Markets, please reach out to myself and or Mary Delicate. And Mary, information will be in the email that comes out regarding your participation in the trail and what we can do to cross promote you, as well as if you have agritourism adventures that you want us to incorporate. I so appreciate all of you being with us today. And I thank you very much for your participation. As always, we're proud to bring this to you from the Virginia Farmers Market Association. Thank you all. We have 2 upcoming webinars that will be in August. One is on first aid, CPR, emergency preparedness, emergency response, and the other is on risk management and liability, the things to expect as a producer and a vendor at a market and what you can do to mitigate that. So we hope to see you all then. And again, Barb, thank you. It was great. We learned a lot. I took a whole page of notes. So thank you very much.
I enjoyed it. All right.
Thank
Thanks
you.
all. Bye.
Thank y'all. Bye.